the only people that can really, 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 really value the real you are the people who actually understand and value what the real you values in ways. It doesn't have to be like the same thing, but it's like, it's the freedom to choose what you want to do with your life. If you value that, you'll value what I do.
There's some responsibility for you to show the real you, even when it's uncomfortable, which it will be. And then there's another responsibility too of people in your life to actually want to bring out more of the real you.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. It was episode number 1329, One Simple Way to Be Less Self-Conscious. Today, for episode number 1330, does your family actually value the real you? So oftentimes when I am talking about growth, evolution, self-improvement, the podcast, the community, learning about yourself, all of that stuff, awareness, I say in this interview or in this example or in this story, I'm going to be real with you about what actually happens when you grow. And oftentimes growth is painful. One of the reasons growth is painful, especially when you get into a new community similar to ours, and the community starts to value you for who you really are, it starts to highlight the people in your life who didn't. And oftentimes for many of us, and again, this isn't necessarily my experience, but I've seen this many times, for many of us, that's our family. When Alan and I have people in group coaching and we say, oh, we're so proud of you for facing this mirror. We're so proud of you for tracking your habits. So proud of you for overcoming that limiting belief. And that's the first time somebody's ever heard something like that. That can be very triggering, and it can help you, or unfortunately make you realize that many people in your life don't feel that way. They don't support you in that way, and they don't value your growth. So again, I don't have this as an experience because my family has been very supportive of this whole thing, but I also understand that I am an outlier in that, and most people do have this issue with family, unfortunately. And here's the thing, the people closest to you usually have the most influence over you. So if your family doesn't value the real you, it's going to be very hard for you to be the real you. And you're going to think there's something wrong with that, and it's a whole thing. So that is what we're jamming on today.
That was really good. If your family doesn't value the real you, it's going to be very difficult to be the real you. And I think everyone kind of knows certain versions of us. Very few people know the holistic, like the coach version of me, the consultant version of me, the podcast version of me, the cat dad version of me, the dog dad version of me, the partner version of me, the intimate partner version of me, the business partner version of me. And so for you out there listening or watching this on YouTube, does your family understand the real you, the whole you, the holistic you, the you that you value most? I think that's really what it comes down to. What parts of you do you value most, and do they actually value that? And if they don't, it's going to be very hard to connect with them on the deepest level.
Can I add something real quick?
Yeah, man.
Just as an example, just came to me. I was telling Alan, Taryn and I are watching, there's a series called Shooter. So there's a movie with Mark Wahlberg, 2008, 2007, called Shooter. There's a series that Mark Wahlberg is producing called Shooter, and I think it's a couple of years old. But in one of the scenes, the main character is in the woods. And there is, and this is how you know you could be a director. Hear me out. There is a wolf in a bear trap, and he has his scope on the wolf. Spoiler alert. And Taryn immediately was like, I can't watch this. He's going to kill the wolf. And he's like, he's not going to kill the wolf. He's going to shoot the animal trap to free the wolf. That's what's going to happen here. Mm-hmm. I know that. They're painting this guy as somebody who has so much power, but also is very kind. And she's like, I can't watch it. The wolf is hurt. And I was like, I need to know though, because if he shoots this is a very important scene in the show, because if he shoots the bear trap off, that's them saying something about this guy. Mm-hmm. I need to know. And she's like, I can't watch this, Kev. And she literally started crying. She's like, I can't watch it. The wolf's hurt. I love that about Taryn. I got a little frustrated in the moment for a second. I was like, I need to see this, babe. I need to know what's going to happen here. But afterwards she was crying and she's like, I just can't see, the wolf was hurt and I thought they were going to hurt the wolf. And some people would make fun of her for that. But that's really who my wife is. My wife, she will cry at commercials, and that is one of my favorite things about her. That is one of the things I value the most about her. If you said, what do you value the most? It's her heart. And that's part of her heart, where other people, that might be too much, or that might be, I don't know, a detriment or whatever it is. So that's just an example of, there are quite literally people out there who they wouldn't value that. They would say, no, that's too much. That's too much of the real you, whatever it is. For me, I love that. So I thought that would be a good example.
Well, this is another good frame of too much. Like, is you being the real you too much for certain people? And I know that in the literature, in the self-improvement space, there's so much talk about just be the real you, be the authentic you. They make it sound so easy. Like, it's very difficult. We're all mirroring and matching. So when we're with people, it's very hard. We're bringing out the parts of ourselves that resonate with the group. Group coaching, when you do the introductions, it's very scary. It's very vulnerable. My neck always gets red. You're introducing yourself and showing yourself to a new group of people, and it can be very scary, because are you going to be accepted here? Are you going to be made fun of here? Are you going to be attacked here? Are you going to be judged here? Are you going to be safe here? And so a lot of people would make fun of her for that. And you never would, which is why she's your wife. And what she would be made fun of by other people, that is what you value most. And I think that that's exactly what this episode is about. And I've come to realize there are certain things about me that are very too much for other people. One thing would be the insane amount of contemplation about the universe and the world and about goals and dreams. One thing I'll share briefly. Goals and dreams are everything to me. If you talk to me ever, if you're a listener and you've ever reached out, there's nothing else. If it doesn't have to do with becoming a better person, improving yourself, improving a craft, improving a skill, achieving goals and dreams, trying to make this world a better place, I don't think I probably have anything to do with it for the most part. Unless it's a movie. I also love movies. But even movies I love because of the betterment of inspiring and that kind of thing. So a lot of people would consider that too much. I do have an ex-partner who that was very exhausting for. And I remember after 26, when I went all in on self-improvement, she was playful with this, but she was like, dating you is like dating a Stairmaster. It's like, you never stop. You're always going. And it's like, in my head, it's like, of course. This is the beginning. And in hindsight, what I realized is she had already achieved her dreams. She was an ER nurse. She achieved most of her dreams. She got her degree, all that kind of stuff, got her dream car. I was at the very beginning of my journey. She was, finished and not finished, but, she achieved most of her dreams, not all of them. But I can understand why that would be too much for some people. And so to bring this back to the original point of the episode, you probably are too much for your family. And honestly, Kev, real talk, you're too much for yours too. The real you is, for sure.
Yeah.
If you were going to go and spend time with Mom and Memes, they would love spending time with you and they would enjoy that, and so would you, but you couldn't be this version.
But it's not because they don't value it.
Right.
I think there's a difference between lack of understanding and lack of value.
That's my point, though, is can they value something they don't understand? And
No, that's fair.
Yeah. It doesn't mean they don't value you, Kevin Palmieri. It means they don't value what you value.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You are a byproduct of what you value. In other words, and I'll share this briefly. I remember when I first got with Emilia, this was 3.5, almost 4 years ago. And I remember I witnessed her family and how much they knew the old version. It was so fascinating because Emilia is extremely growth oriented. She's evolving constantly. She literally has a business called Evolve Ventures. She's all about evolution. Evolution of thinking, evolution of just self-improvement, everything. And it's awesome. Personal growth is her number one core value. It's everything to her. And her family values growth to some extent, but not even close to the extent that she does. And so it was very interesting for me to meet them, and they were wonderful, but to realize that they don't really know her the way I know her. Emilia and I's relationship was born on growth and contribution. It was born on a mutual mission to try to help evolve human consciousness, try to help improve the lives of others. And NLU is built on that. Personal growth, personal development, self-improvement, holistic self-improvement, all of that. Emilia's whole world is built on that too. What I found really fascinating, and hopefully this is resonating with the listeners when they look into their own past, their own family, their own friends, is they value her for the old Emilia. They value her for the version of Emilia that they know. And the version of Emilia that they know has growth and self-improvement in it, but it's not the whole game. Whereas the version of Emilia that I know, intimately, behind the scenes, living with her, talking goals and dreams, reading books, like How Emotions Are Made, the book we're reading in book club was recommended by Emilia. That's the version of Emilia that's the truest version. That's the version of Emilia. I remember I walked into her office when we first met. It was like after our second date, and I looked at her bookshelf. There's a lot you can tell about a human being by their bookshelf. And I was very concerned with any intimate partners that were not super into growth. So I was like very much like looking like for signs, because my previous partner before that pretended to be into personal growth and really wasn't. But anyways, so I saw Aristotle. I saw all the philosophers. I saw books on books on books. I was like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. Like, thank goodness. Because I've studied all the philosophers, you know, the Greek philosophers and all that stuff too. And she's a philosopher. She's a first world, 21st century female philosopher who needs to understand the universe, herself, other people in the world. And she spends every second of every day trying to get better and improve the world. And that's who I am as well. Unfortunately, that's not who her family knows her as. And here's why. It's a duality. She isn't that version around them. Mm. And so they only know the version that they're witnessing. And when Emilia and I first started our podcast, both of our families reached out to us, and they were trying to be kind, but they also were kind of triggered. They didn't really like it that much, although they said, yeah, good job, but like also, like these things need to change. And what I've realized is it's hard for them to hear us on a podcast because that doesn't fit into the paradigm of how they view us. What if the way we really are is more true on the podcast than the way they know us? Because what if we're mirroring them when we're around them, and the way we are around them is much less? And so if you are too much in any capacity, when you're around your family, you do what humans do. You dial it back. Peak performance is my world. Every day, peak performance is my world. I have peak performance clients who know that version of me. Kevin, you know that version of me. Mm-hmm. The listeners know this version of me, which has some peak performance, but it's not dialed up to 12. And I hope our listeners can really sit there and go, okay, this is partially on me. I'm only being a certain version of myself around my family and my friends and my peer groups and my colleagues. So I can't expect them to understand or value the full me. But if you're constantly around people who don't want to get to know the real you, that can also be super detrimental. And so hopefully this episode will help you realize that there's some responsibility for you to show the real you, even when it's uncomfortable, which it will be. And then there's another responsibility too of people in your life to actually want to bring out more of the real you.
Mm. Yeah, I think the interesting question, because I'm trying to think from my frame as much as other frames. I don't really know how much I care if my family values the real me. And I know that's weird, but like for me, I spend very little time with my family. So I don't expect them, maybe that's a better frame. I don't really expect them to value the newest version of Kev because they don't really know the newest version of Kev that well. You know, and I think having those expectations, that also allows me to be less disappointed or less frustrated or triggered or whatever it is.
Well, I think it's a very practical way to look at it. And I don't think it's negative. I think it's good.
No, I don't either. I think it's very logical. I've grown
It's very
a lot.
rare.
I've grown a lot in the last 6 years. I'm having an identity crisis right now. I can't expect anybody else to understand. You know what I mean?
What would you say to people who have a really hard time with that? Because they do spend a lot of time with their family. That's the thing.
I don't know if I'm the one to advise. I don't know when this stopped for me, but I don't seek my family's approval. I don't care. I haven't for a long time. Not that I don't appreciate it and not that I don't value the support, but I don't need it. I don't need the approval. That happened like when I got the job that I got that required so much travel, that broke me free. 'Cause it's like, yeah, I'm going to be gone for the next month. That's it. I'm gone. I'm leaving. I'm going to go live in a house with people I've never met and do a job I've never done. That's it. I'm in. That's what I'm doing. There was no conversation about like, what do you think about that? Is that cool with you? It's like, no, I need to make money. I need a career.
So you've witnessed your wife and others who have families that have family paradigms. And I want to share this with the listeners. A family paradigm, all it means is that blood is everything. If you're family, you're there. That and it's unconscious. It's not like they say it, although some people do say it. But like, my mom, us not going to Easter, and Emilia's family, us not going to Easter. And we had our own reasons, and it wasn't anything negative, but they were very upset by that on some level because they don't really understand why we wouldn't be at Easter. Like, why wouldn't you come? Because the family paradigm is a deep unconscious and subconscious belief that family is everything. And you didn't grow up in a family paradigm, Kev, so you don't understand whereas if you think about your wife, Taryn, like her family gets together regularly. There's these, which is great. And it's got a beautiful part, but the downside of that is there's expectations there. I don't think you ever had any expectations on you. And this is something that I want to share quickly, but Emilia has a big family with a big family paradigm, and it's not a negative thing. It's really good. She has a growth paradigm. Her main focus in life is growth, not family. Family's still important, but it's not first. And anyone who has grown up in a family paradigm, a family unit where there's an unconscious expectation and unconscious belief that family is everything, they feel the pressure cooker of that. They feel the pressure to be there at Christmas on time and stay the night. And when you shift into a growth paradigm at NLU or at Evolve Ventures or the We, which is, the Conscious Couples podcast, all of a sudden, this is why our team members and our listeners have such trouble with family and friends. Because the moment you come to NLU, you start to realize you actually have a growth paradigm. There's a part of you that always wanted to grow and always cared about self-improvement. And maybe you couldn't put your finger on it, but you knew this is where you belong. You belong here in the new world, not in the old one. And your family and friends lash out because they don't understand. They don't get it. They haven't awoken yet to this idea of personal growth. And your family never lashed out because I don't think there was ever a huge family paradigm to begin with.
Bonnie here. I just wanted to share my experience with group coaching and some of the things that I got out of it. So going into group coaching, I was not tracking any habits at all. And so now some of them have become habits. I'm happy to say I wake up, I have a glass of water without even thinking about it anymore. So now I think it's probably time to gear up. I highly encourage people to jump into group coaching. There's so much information, and so stick with it and carry on, and your life will be better for it.
Well, I think I've just always been pretty weird. In terms of like, I don't know how to explain it. I think I've just lived a stranger life when it comes to just my existence. It's like I had to make money. I didn't go to college. Everybody else was away at college. Like most of their parents potentially were paying for stuff. Like that wasn't happening. I got my first car. I paid for my first car, $1,000. It was a ripe piece of crap. Nobody ever bought me a car. Everything I had, I got myself. Not everything. Obviously, I was, there's a lot of stuff that was provided for me. And I'm not saying this is like a sob story. I never went hungry. So that's always a positive. But I think for me, it was like, I was kind of leading the charge of my future. And I think my family kind of knew it. Where it's like, Kev has to go figure this out. What else is he going to do? There's nothing to fall back on here. Kev's going to have to figure it out. So it's like, when I said I want to fight professionally, my mom was like, yeah, cool, do it. You should do that. You know, there was never like, that's dumb. You're not going to make it. Like there was never any of that. So,
So for the listeners, think about if you were to tell your family that you want to go fight professionally. Kev, for other people, it would be like, what?
well, that's why I'm saying I think it was different for me from a very young age where it was like, you go to your family and tell them you're not going to go to college. There was no pushback on that. Nobody in my family went to college. Nobody can really tell me I have to go. That's the interesting thing. Like, what are you going to say? You should go because I didn't? It's like, well, maybe, but I don't want to go. So I'm not going to.
Your childhood was very similar to the way I think of entrepreneurship.
Mm.
And I don't want this to come off wrong because I think there was some safety net. But in corporate America, when you have a steady 9-to-5 career, there's a really beautiful safety net. You know, you always get paid your salary, and as long as you do your job and do your job well, you'll get, raises, and you'll climb the corporate ladder, for lack of better phrasing, and there's 401k benefits, and there's a corporate match and all that kind of stuff. But there's also a ceiling on how much you can get paid. When you jump into entrepreneurship, the safety net is gone. You either learn how to make money or you starve, for lack of better phrasing. Probably not starve, depending on the country you're in. But there's no glass ceiling either. So Kevin and I, it's up to us. The amount of money we earn is based on our efforts and our intelligence and our personal development set point. But there's no safety net either. If Kevin and I both stop working, there's no more checks coming in. And your childhood was a lot like that.
Yeah.
You didn't have a huge safety net, and you didn't have a ton of guidance or opportunities, for lack of better phrasing. But you also had no ceiling. There was no one being like, no, you got to be an engineer though.
Yeah.
Like doctor, lawyer, engineer, or failure. You've heard that saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's from a family paradigm. I know I have a client who literally, if you're not a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, you're a failure. You're a fucking failure. Pardon my French. And that shit bothers me. Because what if I don't want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer? Kev, you do not know what it's like to have those expectations, man.
No, I don't.
It is so bad. Oh, it's so bad. So many of my clients are like, I know it sounds crazy, but I kind of want to. I said, listen, I'm going to stop you right there. It doesn't sound crazy. That's a great idea. And I know your whole freaking family has told you this is a bad idea. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. And you can't build your life around someone else's ideas. And that's what everyone's doing, man. And so it's unfortunate in some capacities how challenging your childhood was without a dad and stuff. But in some ways, it also freed you to design your own world and design your own life. So,
well, and I try to say that all the time, where it's like, I don't have a lot of the common issues that the community has, in terms of like, I could kind of do whatever I wanted, which is also a negative if I didn't get my stuff together, obviously, right? I quit every job I ever had. It worked out eventually, but yeah, no, I had a lot of, it's almost like I had a lot of freedom. I had a lot of opportunities based on the freedom that I was allowed, because I could just kind of try different stuff. I tried a bunch of stuff. Like I went to the fire academy. That was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. That was such a good experience based on the fact that I was like, I think I'm going to be a firefighter after. I don't know. That's what I'm going to try to do. It's interesting. When I look back, it's very interesting that I don't know if I ever really cared if people valued what I was doing. I don't think I ever really did. As long as I valued it, that's really all that mattered to me. Because it's like, honestly, and again, I know I have a weird relationship with this, but people are going to come and go. People are going to come and go, and then you're going to see people less, and you're going to see people more, and just make sure the people that you see more are the people that value what you're doing, and the people that you see less are the people that don't. Again, I understand when it's family, it's very, very challenging, but I have heard this so many times from clients. They're like, yeah, I'm actually thinking about creating distance between me and my family. It's like, good. If that is what feels right, and that's what's holding you back, and that's one of the main pieces of resistance you have, and you're getting a lot of toxicity and you're getting a lot of negativity, logically, it makes all the sense in the world. Mm-hmm. Emotionally, I understand it doesn't make any sense. But logically, point at the people that are causing you the most stress. These people. Spend less time with them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. Now, again, I understand emotionally it doesn't work that way. But when it comes to this, I tend to be more logical than emotional for some reason.
This is one of the best episodes I think we've ever done. And I was actually a little nervous to do it because it's one of those topics that gets so close to the heart. Close to home is the way you described it, Kev. So I want to read something that I wrote to a client, and I'll keep this anonymous. It was something along the lines of, okay, this person said, I feel on the brink of experiencing growing pains with some relationships already. So that'll be the most challenging piece for me. I'll check that book out. Sounds good, because I always have a curriculum with my coaching. I said, hands down, the most challenging part of the journey for me as well. The hardest part, in my opinion, by far, but ironically the most important. Who you surround yourself with is absolutely everything. Other than having and consistently building self-belief, there's nothing that matters more. And that is my truth. Having studied, interviewed hundreds of people and, 4,000 coaching calls and all that. If you have self-belief and know how to build self-belief, number one most important thing, hands down. Nothing else matters as much as that. Second most important thing, who you surround yourself with. And if your fam bam doesn't get it, whatever. You have to do it anyway. They don't need to get it. They don't value it. They just don't value it. They're not gonna get it. They don't. That's like someone coming to me and saying, Alan, I love cars. You don't really get me. I know. You're right. I don't. I could give an F. Kev, I don't get you. I would never buy that car.
I know.
Right? And I know you feel unseen. It's all good. I'm sorry.
I don't care. If anything, it actually benefits me because I'll probably get it sooner than I would if you wanted the same thing. That's interesting. I was thinking about that last night. No, I don't feel unseen. I just know you don't value it.
But you don't get to talk about cars, that version of you around me. Yeah. But that's a healthy relationship with it, though. I think some people would be upset by that.
Maybe. But I also understand it's not your job. See, this is the thing, and I think we might be missing a little part of this. This is what I was trying to get across with my family. They might not value and be able to understand, but they'll still put wind in my sails. That. Whatever that is.
That's weird. That's not normal.
Well, I'm sure it's not. But like just because you don't value cars doesn't mean you don't support me getting cars.
For sure. Yeah. I support you achieving your dreams.
Whatever that is. I think that
your dreams, not mine.
Yeah,
well,
but
obviously we integrate, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's because on an unconscious level, I always wanted that too. I think I always wanted people
fair.
Because I had a lot of people who didn't support my dreams. Like you were like, I want to be a professional fighter. And instead of getting laughed at and ridiculed, they were like, okay, yeah, cool. Dude, I wanted to be a model when I was in high school. I got laughed at by the whole class.
I'm sure the class was probably laughing at me.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't care. Whatever. Screw you. Go do your thing. Like, I don't care. I don't care. Whatever. I'm not going to know you in 10 years. I'm not going to ever see you again, most likely. Like that, I don't care. Yeah. I do not care. But again, there are certain things. If the door doesn't open when I pull it, it's the worst day of my life. So I have weird stuff. But when it comes to that, it's like, look, just let me do what fills me up.
Well, there's the emotion. So you do, you got emotions under there.
Well, yeah, it's more anger than anything. It's like, the interesting thing about stuff like this is the only people that can really, 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 really value the real you are the people who actually understand and value what the real you values in ways. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be like the same thing, but it's like, it's the freedom to choose what you want to do with your life. If you value that, you'll value what I do, and I'll value what you do that. So I don't know. It's just interesting. It's interesting how at the end of the day, nobody really knows what the hell they're doing. And we put a lot of credence into what other people tell us when they have no idea what they're doing either. Nobody really knows what they're doing. We know what we're doing more than we ever have, but I still don't know what the hell I'm doing that much. I know 6 years worth of what the hell I'm doing, and I have a long ways to go. So yeah, the emotion under there, I think, is just, I don't know. Imagine what life would be like if you were confident enough in what you were doing or what you wanted to do to just do what you wanted to do. That'd be a wonderful, wonderful place to live. That's where the emotion comes from.
That's the paradigm that NLU is built on, is the freedom to choose what you want to do. I have a client who their parents are like, would be disowning her if they knew who she really was. This is a thing. This is a thing. So if you're out there listening and this is like triggering you, that makes sense. This is such a thing. The amount that you can share who you really are with your parents, Kev, it's a lot lower than you think. It's the percentage of my client, the way I know my clients versus the way their family knows them. There's a huge contrast. And I just hope everyone has the courage to be like, listen, this is who I am. You like girls, you like boys, I do not care. You get to choose. That's your choice. I don't choose for you. And I don't want anyone choosing for me either. And I think that's the belief that this podcast is built on. Freedom to choose who you want to be. The permission to be who you want to be. As long as you're not disrespectful to other people, as long as you're not crapping on them and their dreams, you're good here. And that's what group coaching is about. That's what NLU is about. That's what peak performance coaching is about. Be more you, align more with you, align with your goals, your dreams, your beliefs. And you got to sail away from these paradigms that are, this is the very last thing I know we got to jump. 3 buckets. Far left bucket is constructive. People in your life that are constructive. They are constructing with you, co-constructing your future. They are supporting you even if they disagree or don't value what you value. Just because I don't care about cars doesn't mean I'm not going to help Kevin get his dream car. Okay?
Tomorrow?
No. The miniature one for sure. Not constructive would be the second bucket. It means people that don't put wind in your sails because they can't or don't care enough, but they don't take it out either. Fair. All good. I'm okay with that. This third bucket, I cannot stand. The third bucket is called destructive. Destructive is you be what I think you should be, or you're wrong, or you're not good enough, or you're valued less, or you're ridiculed, or you're attacked, or you're gossiped about, blah, blah, blah. That's the destructive bucket that you have to categorize. If you do yourself a favor, categorize the people in your life. And you might not like the answer, but you know the answer. Constructive, not constructive, destructive. Kev is constructive. I have a past friend I'm thinking of who's not constructive, and I have many, many people on the list, unfortunately, of destructive. In hindsight, it's very clear you didn't want to see me win. It's very clear you were trying to tear me down. It's very clear, even if you weren't aware of it. And that last bucket, I'm very proud to say there's not anyone left. There's not anyone left in my life that I spend time with regularly that is destructive. And my life is 10 times better. I think this is the root issue other than self-belief.
Heavy one today. Heavy one.
Definitely.
Much needed, though. This is something, when we talk about self-worth, self-belief, confidence, relationships, aligning relationships, and family stuff. Family stuff is very, very big in life, but in the community. We've just, from the people we've coached and the messages we've got, this usually hits pretty hard. So again, you don't have to change everything right now. You don't have to change everything overnight. You don't have to change everything tomorrow, but the awareness is the opportunity. So that is what I will say. We have another meetup coming June 1st, 2023, how to stick with something for the long run. We did an episode on that a while ago and it did really, really, really well. So we figured, you know what? If you listen to the podcast and you like that episode, we should do a meetup where it's a little bit deeper, maybe a little bit more valuable, maybe a little bit more specific. You can see Alan and I behind the scenes. So June 1st, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are interested, let us know. We will have the registration link in the show notes as long as we have the registration link. If not, please just reach out. Alan at nextleveluniverse.com, Kevin at nextleveluniverse.com.
Also, we have a new book, as you've heard, in book club. I got mine in the mail yesterday from Amazon. I bought it used, hard copy. Nice. I wanted to save the trees, so I bought a used book. Yeah, and it was cheaper. Okay, How Emotions Are Made by Lisa Feldman Barrett, and it's a thick one. Okay, so this is a heavy book, but in a good way. And this is the book that Emilia said that she would slide across the table to her high school self if she could only do that with one book. So if you want to join us on book club, we have a new book. Again, you can come in and add a book club as much as you want. Again, big on choice. Like, you don't have to have read every chapter. You don't have to have taken notes. You can come in, listen in, not participate at all, or you can engage a ton. So it's entirely up to you. Join us. The registration link for that will be also in the show notes.
Tomorrow for episode number 1331, how do you attract more growth-minded friends? Another thing we hear very, very often, many clients have gone through, friends, family. I've probably gone through this in the past. I'm sure, Alan, you probably did as well. So that is tomorrow's episode. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Let the real you shine through. Next Level Nation.